Hi guys, and welcome back to Inside Devils, the show that keeps you bang up to date with everything coming outside of Old Trafford. Right now we are here at Old Trafford as Manchester United have just drawn 1-1 with Chelsea. Mundane game. But we are here with talkSPORT's chief football correspondent, Alex Crook, and Angelina Kelly as well. What happened? Look, Chelsea are better than us, right? Or are supposed to be. Allegedly. Are allegedly better than us. Cole Palmer, you know, all these goals, all cold this, cold that.
I just had a Chelsea fan tell me outside that he's going to become on the same level as Cristiano Ronaldo. So
there you go. So we've played
Cole
against a
Palmer's
future
name.
Hall of Famer.
Yep.
You know, they're going in a good direction. But today was basically two bang average sides.
Yeah, very disappointing. I think if you looked a week ago coming into this game, we'd have been like, oh my God, what is the result going to be? What is the scoreline going to be? We'd probably welcome a draw when you think about it. But a lot of fans that we were speaking to at full time, walking away from that game, you thought we could have got a bit more out of it, actually. And it was so frustrating. Chelsea was so poor. I was surprised at how poor they are, considering, you know, the run that they've been on. But yeah, just not good enough. And from Man United, I guess you've got the excuse of it's been a bit of a busy week. They've not got their manager in that is, you know, going to be their manager after a couple of games. It's maybe a little bit all over the place. You can maybe have a few excuses with that. But still, it was frustrating. I walk away feeling frustrated. Chelsea were poor. I think United could have got something from it. Conceding the goal was really, really annoying. So yeah, weird, because a week ago I'd have been happy with the draw, I think. So.
It is one of them, isn't it, Crookie? You probably would bite your hand off with a draw to like not get embarrassed, just stabilise at the moment. If you Ruud van Nistelrooy, don't get any really, really negative results. But there still was a lot missing from our game, and like some realisations of like just how much Ruben Amorim has to do when he gets here.
Yeah, but I think I was there anyway. You know, I didn't get carried away with the 5-2 against Leicester.
No.
Still conceded 2 goals against a poor side. Thought Zirkzee's performance in midweek was horrendous. Today wasn't too much better. And you look at the squad, actually. When I was watching Ruben van Nistelrooy closely on the sidelines, obviously it's a tight game. You look to your bench, you think, well, who could I bring on that can change this? And the options were sparse. Ahmad came on and, as always, provides a little bit of a lightning rod. But apart from that, there's not too many options that Ruud's got at his disposal. So I'm not overly negative. I think what we did, actually, we did a good job in bringing Chelsea down to our level.
That's exactly what we did,
We turned it into a bit of a slugfest, kept Cole Palmer really quiet. I think we probably had the better of the opportunities. I can think of one that Enzo Fernandez put over the bar soon after they equalised.
They hit the post.
Yeah, I mean, that was a little bit fortuitous, really. 2 players almost getting in each other's way at the near post. But apart from that, Onana didn't have a lot to do. Obviously, Garnacho's had a big chance. Bruno Fernandes, I think, managed to hit the second tier of the Stretford end with his attempt at a volley. Yes. So that was impressive. But overall, a point at home to a team who are now in the top 4, I think is decent for Van Nistelrooy. But you're right, it does just show how much work Amorim is going to have to do to get this Manchester United squad, and I think that they're lacking in a lot of areas, anywhere near challenging for the top 4.
Yeah, I agree with you, Crooker. I mean, look, we can't expect miracles from Ruud van Nistelrooy in a couple of games. His job is to stabilise us. He's not going to be able to work on things tactically. He can't change formation. He can't all of a sudden say to that lot, right, I want you to play out from the back in this way now and this, that and the other, and start chopping and changing players. He's got to say, listen, this is what it means to play for the club. Give the fans some passion. You know, be honest with yourself, show something. Eric's gone now, partly down to you guys as well. Go and show something. And I didn't see, like, I thought they would be a bit more on the front foot, like maybe try and shock Chelsea into a reaction just by passion alone, just running the extra mile, you know, being first into the tackle. It was quite mundane, but I do think that was out of fear and caution and just like not trying to overcommit and get done on the counter. So overall, I can't really complain. And you're right, we did bring them down to our level. One player who did stand out, who I thought was absolutely fantastic, was Mazraoui. Yeah. I thought he was absolutely brilliant, especially in the first half. Well, he was brilliant all game. But in the first half, when our levels weren't really good, Crookie, he had the ability to sort of know when to go and engage with Madueke, not let him turn, quick feet. He was the only one who had a little bit of quality about him today at the outfield players. Yeah,
and he had a bit of bite, and you're right, he looked after the ball very well. I think he is decent at playing the ball out from the back. He's obviously a good reader of the game. I spoke to him actually in the tunnel afterwards, and I asked him, what has Ruud van Nistelrooy said to you in his brief tenure? And he said, well, to be honest, 5 days he'd have to be a miracle worker to change too much.
Yeah.
But he did say we're playing with a little bit more intensity, and if you do that, you force mistakes from opponents. I did think that was there. You know, I thought they were pressing higher. I think first 10 minutes, actually, the forward players tried to run at the Chelsea defence. And you look at individuals, Marcus Rashford, I don't know if you spotted it in the second half, he came racing back to bail out Dalot up against Pedro Neto. Dalot was in trouble, and he wins the ball, Marcus Rashford, down by the corner flag. I don't remember seeing him do that too often since the start of last season, to be honest. So I think you can see that there is more energy about United. It's unforgivable, really, you know, that they weren't putting in the same effort.
Base level, isn't it? Professional footballers.
That is the minimum expectation. But there are subtle changes. It's a good point for Ruud. Avoided defeat against a team who are going great guns at the moment, and he's got 2 very winnable games now. It's not beyond the realms of fantasy. In fact, it should happen that he wins 3 of his 4 matches in charge and he takes a point off Chelsea. Yeah,
it is about that, isn't it? About stabilising, just so that we pass the baton over to Ruben Amorim in decent shape, where you go, actually, there's a couple of wins in the Prem. We're unbeaten in 5 by the time that happens, or 4, whatever it is. You know, he comes in against Ipswich, then Everton at home. It's like, oh, actually, you know what? Then by the time you get to Arsenal, you're like, unbeaten in sort of 5 or 6, 7 games, whatever it is, and you can build.
How nice that would be. If that happened.
In theory.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
The thing with Ruud is that I was, you know, having this conversation with people about, you know, what's going to happen with the future with him. Is he going to stay? I know, Cookie, you've been across it about how many people Amorim is going to be bringing in with him. What does this mean for Ruud? I think it would be unfair to have expected him to have, like you say, changed the formation or really, really switch things up. I think there was maybe a little naive part of me that was thinking, oh, are we going to see something? But then when it's kind of the same lineups as Erik ten Hag, I understand it, and I also understand that he's not really got a lot of options.
Exactly.
I do feel that it's more him being a club legend versus his actual ability as a coach as to why he would maybe stay with Man United, if I'm being completely honest. I think that carries a lot more cachet, that he is Ruud van Nistelrooy. I think if he was any guy who'd managed PSV, I don't think people would be as desperate for him to stay. And I think, you know, as fans have been saying, it's about what works for Amorim. If he's going to be a bit of a hindrance being around, then maybe it's not the best thing. But
as in, it might be better to have just a clear break from any old ties.
Yeah, and you know, and for Ruud, I think that fans will be rooting for him, and that if he can get, you know, some good results now, that puts him in a good position, almost like the Michael Carrick situation where he had a good run, got the job with Middlesbrough. So I think fans are kind of hoping for that. But I agree, it's about steering the ship, and it seems like he's doing that. So you can't really ask for much more.
Should he stay, Cookie? I mean, how do you feel on that? Do you have any big opinions on either way, if Ruud should stay on in some capacity? He says, you know, he's got the passion for the club. We know that. He knows the club inside out. And he says, I'm willing to help this club in any way that is. I've got a couple of years contract, but if they ask me to stay, I will obviously do it. Or would you prefer to see Ruben Amorim come in and sort of say, thank you, but, you know, we're going in a different direction? Or is it a good thing to have Ruud van Nistelrooy there to say, here's how the Premier League does work, though. Here's how this club does work.
Yeah, I think the more people you can get as part of the fabric that understand Manchester United, understand the DNA and understand where the club were and where we want to get back to is positive. I guess the question that Ruud has to ask himself is, how much input am I going to have here? Because we know that 5 staff are following Ruben Amorim. 2 of them are assistant managers. One of them, Carlos Fernandez, has been his right-hand man for a number of years at various clubs. So I think it will be a different role for Van Nistelrooy.
Yeah, maybe back to coaching.
Yeah, I'm not sure that he needs 3 assistants. So maybe Ruud will have to answer that question. But when you speak to him, I tried to push him on it tonight, and he said, no, I've had no contact. I'm sure there will be communication from Ruben Amorim. I'm not worried about that. He seems very relaxed about the situation, but he keeps pointing to the fact that he's contracted until the end of next season. Yeah. And I feel like that's a subtle subliminal message to the hierarchy.
Can't just get rid of me.
Exactly.
Gonna have to pay me.
It's going to be awkward, isn't it? He's going to keep rocking up to work every day and they're like, didn't we get rid of him? He's like,
he'll bring the dog like David Brent in the office.
Guys. I've got my contract. I'm staying. I'm not going. He's going to. Oh, I hope it don't get awkward like that.
Yeah. No. I don't think. I think they'll come to the right decision, whatever it is. For me personally, obviously the fan in me, I would like to see Ruud van Nistelrooy around in some capacity. You don't want too many chefs in the kitchen, no. You don't want to be getting in the way. But I don't feel like Ruud van Nistelrooy would be like that. Like, he is a coach in his own right. He can coach. He has been, you know, at PSV where he's won a trophy there, finished second, I believe, or left just before the season ended. But I feel like he he can have a role here in some capacity. I think they can work it out, but it does need to be in the right way. It can't just be, you know, too many voices, too noisy, and just there just because he is who he is. There has to be some thought behind it. Crookie, I just wanted to move on a little bit to Ten Hag's squad that he's left here, and some of the comments that Sir Jim Ratcliffe made about the squad, sort of suggesting that in a roundabout way, it's not good enough. And it's not, is it?
No, not in terms of challenging for Premier League titles and maybe even for getting back in the top four. You know, you look at the Tottenham squad, brilliant win for them against Aston Villa today. They're in a position where they can afford to start leaving out James Maddison. As I mentioned already, I think everybody who's available basically walks into this Manchester United team. The squad depth isn't there at this moment in time. It's going to be fascinating to see how Ruben Amorim manages to mould this squad to the way that he wants to play. He's pretty rigid on that back three. We discussed that on the last show that we did. I think Mazraoui can certainly play as a wing-back. I'm still a little bit concerned about Dallow's form.
His form's been really bad, hasn't it?
Nowhere near the player that he was previously. But again, he should have the skill sets to play as a wing-back. We're yet to see Lenny Yoro. I think it's going to be a really exciting young talent. So there is a little bit of quality there. Joshua Zirkzee so far off it for me. And I don't want to scapegoat the guy, but he's not quite there yet. Rasmus Højlund isn't there yet as a top-level striker who's going to score goals to power teams.
I think we're going to need one in the summer
Champions
again.
League.
I could see Amorim sort of going, with how I play, I need something polished up there. I know Gyökeres is fantastic.
If I've heard that guy's name once this week in Manchester, I've heard it 50 times. Fans are just like, yeah, just sign him.
Just sign him. And we have done that with Eric about going back and getting this.
I don't think it's going to happen this time. I mean, again,
his release clause is quite big as well, isn't
it's like 60, 70 million.
Yeah.
But we haven't come together since the formal announcement on Friday, and it wasn't a surprise to me that head coach was the title. I floated it on kick-off the night before and said I think you find this guy is going to be the first head coach and not manager that United have appointed. His job is to coach the players. We've got a whole brains trust now, a lot of them were here today, who are going to recruit players. So I don't think it's a give me that because we've got the sporting manager, suddenly their star striker is going to follow him to Old Trafford. In fact, I think it's probably less likely to happen because the club want to come away from letting managers sign the players.
But having said that, just with him in particular though, he is, I ain't going to lie. You know when you just go, let me see what he's been doing though. Let me look at some of, he's pretty complete, mate.
I think Marcus Rashford might have a problem. 3-4-3. Ugarte's going to play. And again, I think he did okay today. He got himself booked early on, which meant that he had to play within himself. Well, he is. Kobbie Mainoo, who's got to play alongside him for me when he's fit. I think that's the midfield moving forward. Rashford's not going to play as a wing-back. He's not disciplined enough. You need a central striker through the middle. I think Garnacho, of the wide players, is the one who deserves his place in the team. So where does Bruno Fernandes play? Wouldn't surprise me if he plays out on the left. And therefore Rashford's got to shore out on the right.
How do you see it?
I would tend to agree. I think when you look at Marcus Rashford, I don't see him capable of, like you say, being able to... That was the first thing that we talked about. The players that are going to need to do a lot more running. And Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes were the two names that popped up immediately. Rashford, I'm a little bit worried for. We've been toying with this idea of how long is he going to be at the club. Could this end up being curtains for him? The one thing that I will say about this manager is that he seems to be able to develop players to a point where good business is able to be done with them. You look at an Ugarte, you look at a Pedro Porro, you look at João Paulinho. He's able to get these players to a level and move them on. And I'm not just saying Marcus Rashford, I'm looking at your Christian Eriksen's, I'm looking at, I don't know, maybe your Mason Mount, I don't know, but will he be able to kind of get enough? I know, I know, I did the other day as well.
Literally just forget
you know, could he maybe do enough with these players to move them on in a respectful way? But Rashford, for me, I don't see how he slots in. I agree with Bruno Fernandes. I'm not too sure. I think that he has the capabilities, though, that if he does need to adapt in a certain way, I feel like he can do it. Not as sure with Rashford. I think Zirkzee, a fan called it outside at full time. Maybe there just needs to be a quick turnaround thing where he maybe needs to go in the summer.
Straight away. Don't even waste time.
Or in January, because this simply isn't working, and we've spoken about it for weeks. We need to be cutthroat, ruthless with this. We need to be very ruthless with this, and if players aren't working, we need to get them out, because if this guy is hell-bent on this 3-4-3, then this is our manager, we need to adapt to it, and if the players aren't going to cut it, then we need to break away, and move on. But Rasmus Højlund, for me, I'm praying that there's a player in there. I'm praying that this manager can come in and do something with him, because when he came in, there was so much excitement about the potential that this kid's got.
He's got the raw materials, I think.
Yeah, and I don't want to kind of give up on him the way I've given up on some of the other players. So I'm really hoping that by January we're going to have seen some improvements.
I think when we play such bad football and we've been so poorly coached and we create such little chances,
we are creating
difficult.
Chances this season, though. Even today, there were three or four big chances.
But for the 9, like for the striker, like absolutely, because we've missed the most amount of big chances. But you see, like Højlund,
really
like I never really see him like. You see other strikers for other teams, it's like their striker gets the ball a lot, or they get shots, or if they get one shot and they miss it, or it gets blocked, you go, don't worry, head up, there'll be another chance in a minute.
His only touch in the box was the penalty situation, I think, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, he played a cross-field ball that Rashford stepped over it, then it went to Garnacho at the back, then he had the left-footed shot, like... Then he had a couple of moments in transition that he was a little bit held onto the ball too long. But my thing with Højlund is that I think when he's had a little bit of service or had the ball in around them areas, you've seen back end of last season, goals against Newcastle, Brighton, shift it, West Ham, shift it onto his right foot, bang, cross goal. Like he has something there, but we don't seem to get him into positions whereby he can focus on just being that. He's more putting him into positions where the ball's up in the air, he's got to back in, he's got to fight defenders, a bit isolated, and he needs to get better at that too. But it is difficult. I do think with Ruben Amorim coming in, it depends whether he plays the 3 up front or a 2-1. So the 3-4-2-1 or 3-4-3. Because if he plays 3-4-3, then you can sort of have 2 wingers in Garnacho and Rashford and say you're high up, and then there's a problem for Bruno.
Yeah.
If he plays it with the 3-4-2-1, with like 2 inside 10s or 2 inside 4s behind the striker, that's when Rashford and Garnacho are in trouble, because Bruno has to occupy the sort of right-sided space of that inside 10. And that left-side one, it's like, that's where it's open interpretation, because it's like, both Garnacho and Rashford aren't naturally those types of players. No. They are high and wide wingers who want to see the grass, who want to see the goal and get at their man. So this is why Ruben Amorim has a real big problem on his hands.
But this is a football club historically who've always played with wingers.
Exactly.
You know, we grew up on people like Andrei Kanchelskis and Ryan Giggs terrorising defenders. Cristiano Ronaldo was a winger for this club. So, yeah, it would go against United's traditions if he did play those 2 number 10s and completely got rid of the width. But Garnacho's a player who I think under the right tutelage can really improve. He was frustrating today.
Very.
Twice he got himself caught in offside positions that he didn't need to.
And just selfish at times.
Yeah, he just makes the wrong option. But I think, he's got the raw materials that a proper coaching team can come in and get a player out of him.
Yeah, I did. And look, midfield is difficult because we've...
Casemiro did okay today.
Casemiro, he puts the ball in for the goal as well, drops it over, was it Colwell's head or Fofana, one of the centre-backs, and done really well. And actually, what we've seen with Casemiro, although he was hooked at half-time against Liverpool, rightly so, his confidence has gone and he was just terrible. But we've seen him be left on an island so much. You know, and actually...
He needs people around him.
He needs people around him. Since we've been playing 4-4-2 off the ball, which what Eric made us do probably since after Liverpool, so all of a sudden, there aren't these big, massive gaps where Casemiro gets run past, he's diving in all over the place. And actually, he's putting in some really good tackles because we're more compact. And I think that will probably help him. But I do think that we have a massive problem in midfield with the level of our technicality. Like players who want to keep the ball, move the ball, retain the ball. Like Ugarte, I don't think is that. No. Casemiro is not really that. Eriksen can play, but there's no physicality there.
Kobe can keep the ball. Kobe
can keep the ball. But then if he's going to play deeper, he needs a runner next to him because Kobe hasn't got legs like that. Maybe we could even see something like Kobe playing in one of those advanced positions, and then you got Casemiro and Ugarte behind that. We can't rule out anything.
Yeah,
we can't rule out anything, and that's what's really tough. Okay, and the next game's coming for Ruud against PAOK and Leicester. Carry on in the same vein. Does he need to make any immediate changes? Or Rashford taken off, Garnacho a bit wasteful, Zirkzee we can't really rely on him.
But deserves a bit of time.
Surely,
this is a period where, providing it's not an absolutely horrendous performance, which against PAOK and Leicester you wouldn't think on paper, although we've said that before. I think, what else has Ahmad got to do? I think I would like to see him have a little bit more time. At the end of the day, I would say I don't think Rashford should be starting because I just don't think he's good enough. But him and Garnacho weren't amazing today, so I think either one of them,
I would have taken off Garnacho.
I would pull. I think Ahmad deserves a chance, and I think that would keep Højlund because, again, we've spoken before about this whole confidence thing. Maybe, you know, 2 games against 2 sides that Manchester United should be beating. Can that maybe help build his confidence a little bit? I'm not too sure, but that are 2 names that I definitely want to see. Ahmad, for me, the way that he started the season so strongly as well, and you know, we hadn't really seen him since Porto properly, and yeah, I think he deserves a bit of time.
Agree with that, Crookie?
Yeah, he looked a lot happier coming on today than he did in Istanbul. And as I say, I think he did well. You know, he's direct. He wants to run at defenders. He obviously enjoys being a Manchester United player. I think Pauk could be the perfect game for him. I'd probably take out Martinez against Pauk just because we know he's got a history of injury issues. So maybe give Victor Lindelof a game there. Yeah. He was a bit lucky, Martinez. I don't think it was a red card, but I think there's 2 incidents now we've seen this season. The Palace 2-foot lunge. Yeah. Today when I was with Perry Groves and he said as a player, he knows what he's doing there. You know, it's a nasty challenge. Sooner or later, he's either going to seriously injure an opponent or he's going to get himself sent off and it's going to cost the team. So I think Ruben Amorim just needs to have a word with him. We love the Butcher nickname. We love the fact he's so aggressive. But there's a fine line. He's just threatened to cross that line. Yeah,
he's got to tame it a little bit. I think what saved him on that is his left foot gave way a little bit. There's a little bit of a slip, so he could argue, when we know really, but he could argue a bit off balance. He almost done the splits, this, that. But you can see there's an outreach again with the right thing. Like
just got to rein it in a little bit.
Exactly, because you don't want players getting sent off. I do think that we have to make changes, definitely, because we need to keep people fit.
Give Bayendir another game against Pauk as well, maybe? No, you're not sure? Not convinced by him.
It made me feel a bit nervous.
Yeah, and that punch. I mean, yeah, but against Pauk at home,
but we can't take it for granted.
Actually, we got 3 points. Actually, no, wait, changes, mate. We need to play the strongest team, mate. Apart from Ahmad, I'm being serious. Apart from Ahmad, and like,
I think Lindelof will be fine.
Yeah, Lindelof can come in at centre half. I don't want to see too many changes though, because we're already not a fluid team. And guys, we can't underestimate. Today we finished the game with Casemiro and Lindelof in central midfield. Okay, well, on to the captain. You know, he's had some things to say about what some of the conversations he's had with Ten Hag. You know, sort of apologising, saying the players have let him down. Angelina, is he right?
Stating the obvious, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you guys have let us down. I mean, I get people's frustrations with Bruno Fernandes. I've been very, very frustrated with him, but I get what he's trying to do. He's trying to come out and say, you know, we do hold our hands up, but it's like, you know, it doesn't change anything, does it? It doesn't change that you've been horrendous. It doesn't change that you're the captain and your team have been absolutely diabolical. And then the second Ten Hag goes out the door. Fair enough, it was against Leicester, but you've scored 2 goals. I asked fans at the end.
3 now.
Yeah, I asked fans at the end, and I said, you know what? Like, what were you thinking? What do you think Ten Hag was thinking? Like, he was probably punching walls, thinking, Bruno, you're my captain, mate. Where have you been? You know, you're supposed to be my kind of sidekick in this situation. Now you've shown up. The second I got on a flight straight out of there from Manchester Airport, like, yeah, for me. Very nice and everything, but he's stating the obvious.
Yeah, look, you want the respect to be shown and actually the accountability to be shown, don't you, Crookie? Because yes, there was clear coaching flaws and how we were set up tactically, but some of the mentality shown by the players during Ten Hag's tenure was absolutely diabolical.
Could I say, before we started this show, I thought I was brutal.
Yeah, when Angelina's ready, mate.
There's certain things, several hour meetings of Bruno Fernandes.
Oh. When I learned about Angelina was when I asked her, which I shouldn't have asked her, about the Ronaldo thing when he started his YouTube channel and she just flipped. That's when I found out about Angelina.
And when we told you Rooney wasn't in the top 10, I remember that.
Which you guys are still. Do you know what? Actually, I should have quit the show then. Like, honestly.
Stand by what we were saying.
Absolutely. Oh. Yeah. But it answers your question. I mean, I said it on air. I was obviously on with Simon Jordan and Martin Keown when the news broke, and then before we'd even come off air, we got a message from Bruno Fernandes on social media. So within a couple of hours of the announcement.
Thank you, boss.
Thank you, Gaffer. Too late for that. Thank him on the pitch, because it is ironic. You know, Bruno Fernandes couldn't hit a cow's arse with a banjo up until midweek, and he's now got 3 goals in 2 games, and all of a sudden he looks like he's going to get on the end of stuff. All right, balloon one into the Stretford end.
Moved him right off.
But the goals he's scored though. I mean, He scored that penalty. He scores an accidental free kick against Leicester.
Round the goalkeeper in front of the Stretford end.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they gave him the ball. Poor back pass. Give him the ball.
Listen, he's mugging 10
I mean,
I've never been a fan of players on social media. I called out David De Gea for it because he was always the first after a heavy defeat. You know, not good enough. Apologies to fans. Don't do it on social media because, to be honest, he's probably not written his own tweet anyway. Do it on the pitch where it matters.
And in a private, ring him and
absolutely. And he sounds like Bruno Fernandes has rung Ten Hag. I'm told Ten Hag's absolutely devastated, by the way. Not least because I genuinely don't think he saw this coming.
Do you think so? Did you watch that Leicester presser back, the recorded one that went? I watched it. He had no idea.
No,
he had no idea. He was just talking about sort of injuries and got bounced back.
And you do wonder what the powers that be have been telling him. In the opening weeks of the season, don't worry, it's all fine. You've got our backing, knowing. I know that United contingents were out in Portugal speaking to Ruben Amorim even before they played West Ham. So I do wonder if they'd taken all those chances in the first half, and they're falling it up at half time.
Yeah, would they still sacked him?
What happens then?
That's true. That is very true.
They've already got Ruben Amorim in place.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about the hierarchy in terms of the appointment of Ruben Amorim, because I don't know if you guys saw the quotes that came out from Ruben Amorim on Friday night, and I thought they were really interesting, Angelina, because some of the things he was saying was, I said to my hierarchy, I wanted to stay to the end of the season, but they told me it's now or never. Omar Barada and co have given Ruben Amorim an ultimatum and said, we want you and we want you now.
Yeah, and he'd said that he'd already spoken to Sporting and said that was going to be his last season.
He's definitely going to leave, yeah.
And he's kind of got to say it, hasn't he, about, Man United spoke to me, or he said something to that effect, didn't he? I mean, you kind of got to say that, haven't you? But I'm sure it would speak to an ambitious manager if he genuinely believes in his heart of hearts that he can make a difference. That's what you would want him to say. But that whole kind of it's now or never situation, I like that. I want that kind of brutal, I don't know, approach to things, because at the end of the day, speaking to friends that are United fans and other people that create content and stuff, saying, we thought we're going to have a good month where we can do top 5 managers and all this content we can create, because we've got so much time here, because it's Man United. We're not going to have an actual new manager. Probably by January we'll have ages, and then for it to be like boom, Crookie, you were speaking live on talkSPORT saying, no, this is the guy, they're going for this guy. And I take my hat off to them, considering the errors that they've made, in my opinion, so far. Not just the 7-hour meeting, there were other things as well.
You're brutal about that as well. What were they doing? Why did they need that?
But apart from that, other things that we've discussed, I give them their props for that.
What I find interesting is that we know there was this sort of managerial roadshow, this beauty parade in the summer. They spoke to Roberto De Zerbi. They spoke to Thomas Tuchel. They spoke to Kieran McKenna. They didn't speak to Ruben Amorim. And I know people who tried to put Ruben Amorim in the conversation. At that stage, the United hierarchy backed away from the idea. So what's changed from the summer when they didn't fancy Ruben Amorim, and now very clearly they're immediately honed in on him? Do you think
it was they looked back at the summer and thought people were trying to get him? Because Ruben Amorim also said
Liverpool were interested.
And one thing that with Ruben Amorim, he said this isn't the first or the second time my release clause has been attempted to be triggered. I've had conversations before, and I didn't want those. Basically, I wanted Manchester United. And I told Hugo Viana and co that I would be leaving at the end of the season. I really wanted it to be then. But, United came now and I had to make a decision. But him sort of saying that clubs have played 3 times as much as well in the release clause. I mean, I know you can be a bit braggadocious or, come across a little bit cocky to say I'm a man in demand. But to make those sorts of statements, there's got to be something there. And if I'm looking at, City, Liverpool, West Ham, which were the 3 teams in question, it's interesting to look at who could have been trying to pay 3 times more than a release clause to get this guy.
Well, I think West Ham was close. West Ham was close. In fact, I was told personal terms were agreed, and then David Sullivan, who got cold feet, hired Lopetegui. That's going really well for them. Yeah. Liverpool, I don't think, got that close. They looked at the playing style and maybe decided that actually it didn't necessarily suit their squad, and they quickly turned to Arne Slot. But I don't mind the brashness and the confidence, because they call him the new special one in Portugal. And I know that's an easy nickname to give him, but I've spoken to journalists over there and they say we're going to love him, we're going to love his press conferences. He's got a bit of the Mourinho's about him, only less grumpy was what I was told. But let's see, because this is a beast. We're sat here at Hotel Football. we're on stills that make us look like we should be in Westlife. but you can see Old Trafford there. You know, you can if you look closely enough, you can see the Sir Matt Busby statue overlooking the mega store. You've got the Holy Trinity statue opposite that. There are constant reminders. You've got the Munich Tunnel, you've got the Sir Alex Ferguson stand, the Sir Bobby Charlton stand, of what this club stands for and where this club has been in the not too distant past. This is going to be like no scrutiny Ruben Amorim has ever encountered. So I think he's going to need a bit of the Jose Mourinho's to be able to handle that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And one thing I do want is the personality, the character, the charisma.
We want him to light up a room.
Exactly.
And we want him to have us as journalists eating out the palm of his hand, which
and he needs
Ten Hag never managed.
Yeah. And he needs to. He really, really does. Okay, really, really quick. Just looking forward to predictions for PAOK. Get that done, don't we? Easy.
Yeah, I can see another goal fest against PAOK. I think they'll win that, and they'll win that well. And I think we'll beat Leicester in the league next weekend as well.
Angelina?
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to see a good 2-3-0 against PAOK, and Leicester maybe not the same as the other night. But yeah, it should be a comfortable win. Yeah.
There you go. Okay, guys, thank you for watching the latest episode of Inside Devils here at Hotel Football, live on location for the big game against Chelsea. We've drawn 1-1, which ain't the worst. We brought them down to our level. We were supposed to get smashed, apparently. Cole Palmer this. Caicedo did do all right, actually. But Chelsea this, Chelsea that. We brought them down to our level. We'll be back on another episode very, very soon. Take care, guys. Peace.